Something just happened in Cleveland, and it's way bigger than anyone expected. Fans thought this season was going to be a smooth transition, the start of something new, something unstoppable, a fresh era with Shedeur Sanders stepping into the spotlight. But instead, the energy around the Browns has taken a sharp turn, and now the entire football world is buzzing. Not because of a game-winning throw, not because of a breakout performance, but because of something far more telling: the reactions, the comments, and the tension that's suddenly sitting heavy in that locker room. And the moment that pushed everything into the spotlight, it wasn't a highlight, it wasn't a fight, it was an interview, a short one, a controlled one, but the silence inside that interview said way more than any sentence possibly could. Jeudy stepped in front of reporters, answered just a few questions and walked away, and instantly the internet exploded. Because in just a handful of words, without raising his voice, without naming names, without giving a speech, he exposed something. Something that so many fans have been whispering already. Something teammates have been hinting at. Something coaches probably hoped no one would notice yet. A problem. A pattern. A sign that behind the scenes, things are not as calm as they appear. And here's the part that made everyone stop scrolling. Jeudy wasn't annoyed at reporters. He wasn't annoyed at the fans. He wasn't annoyed because of a bad route or a tough defender or a missed catch. No, his frustration was pointed, not at Shedeur, but at the situation around him. Because while everyone on the outside keeps saying, "Give it time," the energy inside the team suggests that time is exactly what they're not being given. The expectations are sky high, the pressure is building, and the window to figure things out is getting smaller by the day. So when Jeudy gave those short, sharp answers, yes, nah, we working, people knew instantly that wasn't shyness, that wasn't nerves, that was controlled frustration, a frustration that almost slipped into honesty. Because there's a growing belief, especially among players, that Shedeur isn't struggling, he's being set up to struggle. Not out of malice, not out of sabotage, but out of rushed decisions, mismatched preparation, and unrealistic timelines. And Jeudy knew reporters wanted a headline, but what he gave them was a warning. His body language said, "If y'all only knew." If you're enjoying this video and loving the content, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. It really helps us know what you want to see more of. And why keep all the excitement to yourself? Share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who loves NFL drama. Something just happened in Cleveland, and it's way bigger than anyone expected. Fans thought this season was going to be a smooth transition, the start of something new, something unstoppable, a fresh era with Shedeur Sanders stepping into the spotlight. But instead, the energy around the Browns has taken a sharp turn, and now the entire football world is buzzing. Not because of a game-winning throw, not because of a breakout performance, but because of something far more telling: the reactions, the comments, and the tension that's suddenly sitting heavy in that locker room. And the moment that pushed everything into the spotlight, it wasn't a highlight, it wasn't a fight, it was an interview, a short one, a controlled one, but the silence inside that interview said way more than any sentence possibly could. Jeudy stepped in front of reporters, answered just a few questions and walked away, and instantly the internet exploded. Because in just a handful of words, without raising his voice, without naming names, without giving a speech, he exposed something. Something that so many fans have been whispering already. Something teammates have been hinting at. Something coaches probably hoped no one would notice yet. A problem. A pattern. A sign that behind the scenes, things are not as calm as they appear. And here's the part that made everyone stop scrolling. Jeudy wasn't annoyed at reporters. He wasn't annoyed at the fans. He wasn't annoyed because of a bad route or a tough defender or a missed catch. No, his frustration was pointed, not at Shedeur, but at the situation around him. Because while everyone on the outside keeps saying, "Give it time," the energy inside the team suggests that time is exactly what they're not being given. The expectations are sky high, the pressure is building, and the window to figure things out is getting smaller by the day. So when Jeudy gave those short, sharp answers, yes, nah, we working, people knew instantly that wasn't shyness, that wasn't nerves, that was controlled frustration, a frustration that almost slipped into honesty. Because there's a growing belief, especially among players, that Shedeur isn't struggling, he's being set up to struggle. Not out of malice, Not out of sabotage, but out of rushed decisions, mismatched preparation, and unrealistic timelines. And Jeudy knew reporters wanted a headline, but what he gave them was a warning. His body language said, "If y'all only knew." This isn't just a football issue, it's a power struggle. Coaches protecting their authority. Front office protecting their investment. Players caught in the middle. And Jeudy's reaction wasn't just commentary, it was confirmation. Not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakably clear. The team knows something deeper is happening, and the truth is starting to leak. At the heart of this entire situation, beneath the emotional interviews, the frustrated sidelines, and the circulating reports, lies one core belief forming inside the Browns organization and rapidly spreading outside it. What happened with Shedeur Sanders wasn't an accident, it was intentional. Not a coaching misread. Not rushed decision-making. Not a chaotic sideline adjustment gone bad. But a calculated maneuver rooted in politics, control, and self-preservation. Because when you look at every detail, the lack of preparation reps, the absence of game plan inclusion, the sudden mid-drive substitution, the refusal to adjust play calling, and the post-game framing, everything points in one direction. Shedeur wasn't tested, he was positioned to fail. And that raises the real question, why? The theory gaining traction is simple. Shedeur represents the future the front office believes in, a future tied to ownership's vision and the franchise's long-term investment. He's the talent they drafted, the narrative they can build around, the quarterback with upside and marketability. But that future threatens the present leadership. If Shedeur succeeds, it forces acknowledgement. The coaching staff misjudged the depth chart, the playbook, and perhaps even the direction of the team. It means their evaluation wasn't just off, it was wrong. And in the NFL, being wrong about a quarterback isn't a small mistake. It's job-ending. So instead of embracing the challenge of developing him, the theory suggests the coaching staff chose another route. Protect the current system, not the future asset. Put him in, under impossible circumstances. Let the moment swallow him. And when he struggles, point to the results, not the context. That way, the staff keeps leverage. The depth chart remains unchanged. And any push for immediate transition can be countered with a simple phrase. We tried, he's not ready. But here's the flaw, players aren't blind. They saw the lack of reps. They saw the confusion on the field. They saw the coaching silence when adjustment was needed. And now, they're starting to talk quietly, cautiously, but unmistakably. The thesis becomes clear. This isn't a quarterback controversy. It's an ideological collision. A clash between those planning for the future and those fighting to preserve the present. One side wants development. The other wants validation. And somewhere in the middle stands Shedeur Sanders, talented enough to be the solution, but intentionally positioned as the problem. Whether the organization confronts this or collapses under it will define everything that happens next. Because the story isn't about a rookie struggling. It's about a franchise choosing whether to build around its future or sabotage it to protect the past. When you lay out the facts one by one, a pattern forms, not messy, not emotional, but methodical. And that's what makes this entire situation impossible to dismiss as coincidence. The evidence doesn't just suggest something intentional happened. It highlights the same choices being made repeatedly, all pointing to the exact same conclusion. Start with preparation. Every reliable report coming out of the building confirms the same detail. Shedeur Sanders received 0 legitimate first-team reps during the week. Not limited reps, not reduced reps, not sparingly rotated. 0. No receiver timing. No game-specific install. No coordination with protection calls. And yet, he was the one thrown onto the field against one of the most complex and aggressive defenses in the league. That's not evaluation. That's exposure. Then comes the substitution itself, arguably the most suspicious moment of all. Dylan Gabriel wasn't struggling. He wasn't injured. He wasn't rattled. The drive was stable, controlled, and functional. And yet, without explanation, without warning, he was pulled mid-possession. Not during a game reset. Not after a mistake. Not after a turnover. Right in the middle of momentum. Multiple witnesses described his reaction the same way. Confusion, not disappointment. That matters because confusion means one thing. He didn't see this coming. No quarterback rotation plan. No dual system strategy. No expectation that he'd be benched. Now layer the next piece of evidence. The play calling didn't change. Despite inserting a completely different quarterback, one with a completely different playing style, the staff continued running Gabriel-centric concepts. The offense never adjusted to Shedeur's strengths, tendencies, or mobility. No simplified reads. No rollout packages. No quick rhythm timing throws, the very plays he excels with. He wasn't being coached to succeed. He was being managed through the motions. And after the game, the messaging was identical across every staff member who spoke publicly. We just wanted to see what he could do. Not one word acknowledging the lack of preparation. Not one mention of the environment he was thrown into. Not one admission that the conditions weren't fair. That scripted consistency in messaging is its own evidence. Because when people are speaking truth, the details vary. When people are aligned in narrative, the language matches. Add in the locker room reaction, the quiet frustration, the pointed comments, the long pauses, and you see the same theme again and again. Players know. They saw the lack of reps. They saw the lack of communication. They saw the substitution timing. And now they're watching the narrative being shaped publicly in real time. One detail alone could be explained away. But repetition kills coincidence. No reps. No warning. No adjustments. No accountability. Same messaging. Same outcome. Over and over. That's not mismanagement. That's a pattern, and patterns tell the truth even when people don't. Every story has characters, but in this one, the roles aren't written, they're revealed. And the deeper you look, the clearer the alignment becomes. This isn't just a messy quarterback competition or a confusing coaching decision. It's a collision of perspectives, power, and priorities, and every figure involved has chosen a position, whether they meant to or not. Shedeur Sanders, the controlled target. Shedeur isn't the loudest voice in the room. He's calm, composed, calculated, exactly the way quarterbacks are trained to be. But make no mistake, his silence isn't passivity, it's awareness. He knows the eyes on him, the expectations attached to him, and the trap he's been placed into. He's not fighting coaches publicly. He's not defending himself publicly. He's not emotional. Instead, he's doing something far more dangerous. He's letting his play speak. And everyone in that building knows, once he actually gets reps, there will be no debate left. Jeudy, the voice with nothing left to lose. Jerry isn't angry, he's fed up. There's a difference. He's seen quarterbacks come and go. He's lived through bad installs, weak leadership, and wasted potential. And for the first time in a long time, he sees a quarterback with talent worth investing in, and yet that quarterback isn't being developed. His body language said what his contract doesn't allow him to say directly. If this franchise fails Shedeur, it's on them, not him. And because Jerry is respected, not just as a wide receiver, but as a locker room presence, his alignment gives Shedeur legitimacy. Kevin Stefanski, the guarded strategist. Stefanski isn't chaotic. He's calculated, sometimes to a fault. His philosophy has always been system first, player second. And in this situation, that rigidity is clashing with reality. When he talks, he uses phrases like, "We're evaluating. We're taking it week by week. We're monitoring progress." That isn't leadership. That's deflection. Stefanski isn't aligned with the locker room. He's aligned with the decision makers above him, or at least trying to be. The front office, the shadow architects. If the coaching staff is executing decisions, the front office is designing them. They're the only group with a motive that makes the randomness feel intentional. Control the narrative before the narrative controls them. A rookie quarterback succeeding too early can threaten egos, careers, and establish direction. A rookie quarterback failing early can justify patience, extensions, and excuses. Their alignment isn't emotional, it's strategic. The locker room, the silent majority. Players notice everything: who gets reps, who doesn't, who's being set up to succeed, and who's being hung out to dry.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
Their silence isn't approval. It's observation. And right now, most of them are quietly gravitating toward the same conclusion Jerry already said out loud. They believe in Shedeur more than the structure around him does. Let me ask you something, and really think about it. How do you expect a quarterback to develop chemistry when he barely touches the field in practice? How do you demand timing and rhythm when the man throwing the passes hasn't been given the chance to build either? How can a locker room trust leadership when the decisions being made don't match the reality players see every day? Because that's what this situation comes down to: not talent, not capability, not readiness, but opportunity. And if opportunity is withheld, is the evaluation even real? Let's flip it. If Shedeur Sanders had been getting first-team reps from day one, would we even be having this conversation? Would there be a quarterback controversy? Would there be frustration boiling over in interviews? Would Jeudy look like someone forced to protect a truth nobody wants to say out loud? And here's another question, the uncomfortable one. If Shedeur fails, whose fault would it really be? Would it be the rookie quarterback trying to adjust to a new system? Would it be the receivers trying to sync with someone they barely practice with? Or would it be the decision makers who chose hesitation over preparation? And if Jeudy, a veteran, respected talent, is the one sounding the alarm, shouldn't that make people pause? Or are we supposed to believe he suddenly forgot how to handle media? Forgot how to communicate? Forgot how to stay composed? Or is it more likely that he's seen enough, and he's tired of watching the same cycle repeat? Here, another one. Why was Dillon Gabriel protected, developed, and defended, while Shedeur Sanders was kept waiting behind a closed door? Was it caution? Was it politics? Was it fear of disruption? Or did the organization underestimate how fast players would recognize Shedeur's upside? And now that the locker room knows, can you put that genie back in the bottle? Let's go deeper. If Shedeur balls out after just 1 week of real preparation, what does that expose? Does it validate the roster? Does it validate the locker room's belief? Or does it expose the coaching approach? And what happens to trust if the players realize the staff wasn't late, they were wrong? What happens when fans start asking the same question Jerry implied without saying it? Why wasn't he playing sooner? Because once that question starts circulating, it's not just a storyline. It's accountability. So here's the final question, the one every Browns fan, every analyst, every person watching needs to sit with. Is this situation a setback for Shedeur Sanders? Or is this the moment that forces the Browns and the entire NFL to finally recognize what some players already know? That Shedeur isn't waiting his turn. He is the turn. Now answer honestly. Are we witnessing a controversy? Or the beginning of a takeover? Now here, where everything stops being casual, because the moment you zoom out, the pattern becomes undeniable. This isn't just a quote anymore. This isn't just a press conference. And this definitely isn't just another rookie storyline. This is momentum, accelerating, stacking, tightening, and the people who laughed at it early are now realizing they might have laughed a little too soon. Because once a narrative goes from maybe to what if, the next stage is, oh, we might have been wrong. And right now, that shift is happening in real time. You can feel it. You can see it. You can hear it in the way analysts talk now, slower, more cautious, less confident. The tone isn't mocking anymore, it's protective. It's defensive. Because the scariest thing in sports isn't hype. It's a player who starts proving the hype wasn't hype at all. It was warning. And suddenly, everyone who doubted him is stuck trying to reposition themselves before the tide hits. That's the escalation. Every storyline has a breaking point, that moment where curiosity turns into pressure and pressure turns into expectation. And Shedeur just stepped across that line. Whether intentionally or not, whether calculated or instinctive, that quote from Stefanski didn't just compliment him. It legitimized him. Now there's weight behind his name. Now there's consequence behind people's opinions. Now every snap he takes isn't just a play, it's evidence. And when evidence builds, narratives snap. So ask yourself, what happens when a rookie quarterback stops operating like a rookie? What happens when the coach, the locker room, and the league start recognizing the shift before the fans do? What happens when the future stops being potential and starts being performance? Because that's where we are. This isn't preseason hype. This isn't college tape nostalgia. This is the NFL, and the noise around Shedeur isn't just louder. It's changing tone. From doubt, right arrow skepticism. From skepticism, right arrow curiosity. From curiosity, right arrow belief. From belief, right arrow fear. Fear from defenses. Fear from rival front offices who passed. Fear from analysts who planted their flag on the wrong take. And once fear enters the conversation, the narrative becomes unstoppable. Because now it's bigger than stats, bigger than quotes, bigger than headlines. Now it's about legacy forming in real time, and everyone scrambling to process it. This is the moment where the story stops being a debate and starts becoming inevitable. So here, where we leave it, not with certainty, not with guarantees, but with possibility. Because every once in a while, sports gives us a moment that feels bigger than the scoreboard, bigger than the stats, bigger than the final whistle. A moment where you can sense something is shifting, not just on the field, but in the culture around it. And that's where we are right now. Whether you're a fan, a critic, or someone just watching the noise from the outside, you can't deny it. There's a different energy around this storyline now. There's a spark. There's momentum. There's a quiet undercurrent that feels like preparation meeting opportunity and opportunity finally responding. Because greatness never announces itself politely. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for approval. It doesn't check if everyone believes yet. Greatness shows up and then forces the world to adjust. And maybe, just maybe, we are watching the early stages of that adjustment right now. Maybe this isn't about proving doubters wrong. Maybe it's about proving believers right. Maybe it's not about where he came from, but where he's going. Maybe the pressure isn't a burden, maybe it's fuel. Because every franchise quarterback, every superstar, every figure who reshaped the game had a moment like this. A crossroads, a shift, a point where the conversation changed from can he to when will he. And if this is that moment for Shedeur, then everything from here becomes a test of response. Not just physically, mentally, emotionally, leadership, adaptability, identity. Because talent gets you noticed. Work keeps you relevant. But fire, real fire, that's what creates legends. So whether you're sitting back watching or cheering from the front row, remember this. Every great chapter in sports begins with doubt. Every hero is questioned before they are respected. And every rise starts quietly, until suddenly it's undeniable. So don't blink. Don't tune out. Don't assume this storyline is finished. Because if this is only the beginning, if this is just chapter 1, then the next chapters won't be predictable, they'll be unforgettable. And years from now, people might look back at this exact moment, this interview, this quote, this shift, and say, that's where it started. That's where he stopped being a name and became a problem. So take a breath, because the quiet before the breakthrough is always louder than the noise that comes after it. And something tells me the noise is coming.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.